What's your carnal theory?
Hi, everybody. I am Abba.
And I'm Amanda. And today on Carnal Theory, we're sitting down with Dr. Lexx Brown-James. Lexx is a sex therapist and educator focusing on race, sexuality, and relationships. She's also the author of The Black Girl's Guide to Couples Intimacy and These Are My Eyes, This Is My Nose, This Is My Vulva, These Are My Toes, which I really want to talk more about. She holds multiple master's degrees and has her doctorate of education in human sexuality from Widener University. So she really knows her stuff. And thank you for joining us today, Lexx.
Thank you for having me. That was such a good intro.
Thank you.
I'd like to give the full spread for everybody, so we have a lot to dip into in the conversation. So Lexx, if you could kick us off and please share the theory that you've brought for us to consider.
Thank you, Abba. So my carnal theory for you all to consider is that everyone needs to have aftercare after every sexual event.
Yes, and so as I've been kind of digging into some research for this theme, I've been questioning a lot, like, what is aftercare and like how I might expand my understanding of what that is. Can you give us a bit of a definition as to how you see aftercare being defined?
Absolutely. So aftercare in its broad sense, which was originally in the BDSM world, right? So the bondage, dominant, sadomasochism, submissive and dominant masochist world. And it was this idea that after a sexual scene that involved these enactments of power, that there needed to be a way for people to come back to themselves, to even out. So all of the good hormones that kick in, some people describe subspace and even a dom space when we're talking about power play. And to return back to like our kind of normal levels of functioning, aftercare took place. And aftercare can look as easy as bringing somebody a cup of water. It could be cuddling. It could be leaving somebody alone just to come back to themselves by themselves and naturally. But it really is talking about, in that realm and coming from that realm, the ability to be taken care of and have all of your needs met after a sexual encounter.
I want to underline having all of your needs met. I was having a conversation with another partner of ours, Kitty Pride, who we've had on the show. We were talking and we're talking about this theme, and she mentioned Cash App and your bills getting paid as a form of aftercare, because that is part of having your needs met. Like that could be a part of what aftercare looks like. And I was like, wow, yeah. Like I wasn't expecting, I have never heard that, connection.
I mean, you get to come and your gas gets paid. It's a win-win.
Exactly.
Sounds ideal. Do you think that aftercare can be a preemptive thing? Like, can it come before sex, even though we call it aftercare?
Right. I mean, yeah, pre-care, self-care, right? Engaging in care. I like to usually call things like that before sexual play, like it's extra lubricant, right? It makes the sex a little bit easier to have. However you're defining sex and whatever you're doing, it really helps, especially for femme-identified folks, right? So people who are socialized as femmes, people who identify as women, have a really horrible habit of this thing called spectatoring. And spectatoring is when people step outside of themselves. They're no longer in the moment of carnality, of physicality, of pleasure, but they're already living in the future. So they're saying, after this, I need to do my laundry, check my email, feed the cat, come back, take care of the kid. Meanwhile, their body is just doing things. And they're just like kind of watching these things happen. Okay, well, how much longer will this last? If I tighten here, will this end? But they're not actually enjoying the pleasure of what's going on for them because they're spectatoring. They're kind of just watching what's happening. So all of that pre-care actually is lubricant to get juices going, to get blood flowing, and to get the mind in the moment.
And is there a distinguishment between pre-care and foreplay?
So foreplay is kind of taboo nowadays at all, because sex is so broad. It's no longer just like penile vaginal intercourse because, tag the patriarchy. So we're really deconstructing that. So what some people might say is like foreplay is actually some people's sex and as far as they want to go. So yeah, we kind of threw foreplay out and like, it's all just sexual play. It's just what type of sexual play you want to engage in. Kind of like a pizza. What are your toppings that you like today?
100%. And you work with a lot of couples. You do couples therapy as well. I'm wondering if there are misconceptions on what aftercare is in conversation, or if it even plays a large role in therapy work.
Yeah, but that is such a good question, because people tend to forget that because they're not in like a BDSM scene, that there needs to be aftercare. And for some reason, it's also like, oh, well, the sub needs aftercare if they are in a BDSM scene. I'm like, that's not necessarily true, people. Everybody needs aftercare, hence the theory. So if you're a lover and you were together as a couple, like maybe they need something afterwards. Maybe they want to rub down because they've been pounding their heart away. Maybe they want like a leg massage or a foot rub, or maybe they want to be cuddled, or maybe they want to be validated that this was a good time for you and that this did feel good and that you do want to do it again, right? I specifically see this a lot in couples who are trying to conceive, who are having a lot of sex on purpose during a lot of time. It can bring a lot of pressure to the intercourse and pleasure. And so sex starts to become like an obligation instead of an opportunity. And with that, I say, well, let's bring in some like, how are we taking care of ourselves? Let's not talk about our hopes of maybe this is the time we get pregnant this time, right? Let's maybe not even use or build up to ejaculation. Let's just have some type of intercourse and let's withhold ejaculation and then take care of just holding each other and being close after that, right? Let's do some deep breathing because maybe one partner is really anxious, and some holding and some resting assured. Sometimes I also have people do body validations afterwards. And that body validation is, when somebody might feel different about their size, especially because we're in a pandemic and some people have changed body styles and types. So some aftercare might be like, I really loved it when your body was on top of me and I loved how it felt. And getting that validation of like, oh, I don't have to end up in my own little like spiral of anxiety of was this okay? Because now my lover is validating for me that it was. And it was fun and they'd want to do it again.
I love the idea of body validation as a form of aftercare. That makes a lot of sense.
Each time we have a theme at My Sex Bio, it's related to sex and sexuality, but we also think about like, why wasn't this taught to us? Why wasn't aftercare taught to us? Like, why weren't we taught to take care of each other? Why are we taught that sex is this like, I feel like it's either one of two extremes. Like it's either this like raw carnal thing that happens and then is like over and then you go your own ways, or it's like this crazy romantic like life altering experience, and in none of any of that, which is like the two extremes, did we ever get told how to take care of the other person. So not only is it unrealistic, but it's like not healthy. How do you think that we can change that? And do you see a possibility to address aftercare in sex education?
Oh my gosh, yes. So sex education in my realm and the sex educators that I work with, we move towards a pleasure-centered sex ed, right? And so right now, sex ed is very STI phobic and orgasm focused. Right. And I think, Amanda, you're getting to it. It's like after the orgasm, we don't know what happens. Like after you come, it's just like, okay, what now? Where are my panties? Like that doesn't have to be the case. So we try and do pleasure focused. And so what's pleasurable to you? And sex doesn't necessarily have to end at any type of peak or orgasm or when a penis is no longer hard. That doesn't necessarily mean sex ends or begins based on hardness or firmness of an erection. Doesn't have to. We can stop doing that. Every erection doesn't have to be used either. And ejaculatory response and actual like orgasm feelings are two different feelings that typically come grouped together, but they're two different feelings. They can actually happen asynchronously. People don't know that. People are like, no, like once he comes, it's done. I'm like, who said they were having sex with a penis in the first place? A. B, does the rest of the body go limp and is unable to move once the ejaculation happened? No. So how come sexual play has to end there? So we're redefining it to center sexual pleasure. And so that sexual pleasure means that that pleasure can keep going after orgasmic feelings. And it doesn't necessarily have to be carnal in nature. It can be, this just feels nice.
Do you see relationships between people changing when they look at sex differently? When there's a more encompassing definition of sex? Like in the therapy part, like if you change the definition of what sex is, do you see that affecting things?
Absolutely, Eva. So once people kind of expand what sexuality can be, and usually I use the term of intimacy here. So because people just stop at sex when they think of sexuality. But when we term intimacy, so people start to realize, wow, we have a lot of intimate touches throughout the day that I really value. And even for myself personally, so every time my lover and I are in the car, we are connected in some way, shape, or form. Either one of us is like, we're holding hands, we have a hand on the thigh, somebody's hand is like on somebody's shoulder or back of the neck, just in the car. And it's just something we kind of do unconsciously, but it's always there. And it's really nice to just be connected. And there's not an expectation of sex that comes with it. It's not like, oh yeah, you're gonna give me head now because I touched your thigh. Like, it's not like that. It's just like, I like touching you and I like to know that you're here. And I like having you here with me. And that feels really nice. So people do start to expand out what their intimacy looks like and get connected in all these different ways. And it feels really good to bring your lover pleasure, right? You bring your lover to like some type of climax, you're like, I did that. That was me, all me. I'm great. You help facilitate their process, but I'll let you take the ego boost, right? And you were able to do that. And it feels really good. It helps with confidence and sexual self-esteem. So yeah, it does build their intimacy. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us. Like, really, really appreciate it. As we close out the conversation, can you just state the carnal theory that you brought for us one more time? And
absolutely.
Take it away and consider it more through their days.
So I want you to consider that everyone needs aftercare after every sexual event.
I'm convinced. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. And we hope that this episode has given you something further to reflect upon, and reach out with any of your questions or insights on our Instagram page at Carnal Theory, or you can reach out to Lexx and check out her work at lexsexdoc.com. It's a little tongue twister. That's Lexx with 2 X's, or on Instagram at lexsexdoc. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Carnal Theory is produced by My Sexual Bio. Our sound design is by Audrey Cohane, and our theme music by Min the Universe. My Sexual Bio is an educational platform built to empower people like you to take command of your sexual biography. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify at My Sexual Bio. Visit our website and join our e-letter at mysexbio.org, and support our work by joining our Patreon. Thank you.